when the world has got you down. And
Alzheimer's sucks. It's an equal opportunity disease that chips away at everything we hold dear. And to date, there's no cure. So until there is, we continue to fight with the most powerful tool in our arsenal, love. This is Love Conquers Alls, a real and really positive podcast that takes a deep dive into everything Alzheimer's, the good, the bad, and everything in between. And now, here's your hosts, Susie Singer-Carter and Cassie Cruz.
all you gotta do is sing a song.
Hello, everybody. I'm Susie Singer-Carter.
And I'm Cassie Cruz. Welcome to Love Conquers Alls. We got some cutting edge ladies on talking about it's a new therapeutic development. So I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, it's an amazing program. Thank you for my friend from Instagram who wrote me an instant message saying you've got to interview these ladies. They have the most incredible program. It's called Connected Horse. Basically, it's working with horses and caregivers and people with Alzheimer's and dementia. It's beautiful.
It's incredible.
And these two ladies come from an extensive background in senior care. Nancy Schier and Anzelmo is one of the co-founders and educational director of Connected Horse and is a widely known, highly regarded gerontologist and Alzheimer's dementia care specialist, a consultant, a speaker, and a trainer. And she has dedicated herself to promoting person-centered care that offers those with dementia opportunities to grow socially, yes, and spiritually even better.
Super important.
To enjoy their lives and enrich their lives. It's beautiful.
As they are right now with caring for somebody with Alzheimer's. Yeah,
totally. And then her partner, equally as fantastic, is Paula Hertel, who's the co-founder and president of Connected Horse, and she spent the last 25 years focusing on improving the lives of elder people in terms of delivery services for the elders in need of care and services, whatever they need. She has a broad experience in senior housing and assisted living operations and staff training and new program development. So it's no shock that they are developing a program like this. So without further ado, I would just love to bring these ladies on and let them tell you all about it. So I'd like to welcome Nancy Schier and Anzelmo and Paula Hertel.
Yay!
Welcome, ladies. Tell us what Connected Horse is.
It is a research-based equine-guided workshops for people with early stage dementia and their care partners, which is a mouthful in itself. But at its essence, it is a program that Nancy and I are really passionate about because it allows people to get out of their head and into their body and get out of the daily tasks and roles they're in and into the moment.
Right.
And the horse is the teacher. And so our program takes place at a barn, so people get out of something that typically we have the luxury of being able to be blessed to have horses, so we go to the barn, but most of our participants have very little experience with horses, and they drive up to the barn, and just being out in nature, the day-to-day things that they are expecting start to fade away, and they get into their senses because they smell things they haven't smelled before. They see things that they haven't seen before. You're out in nature. And so we see body language change just immediately, that when your shoulders are up and your ears, all of a sudden you're like at the barn and you remember to take a deep breath and your shoulders kind of relax. Those things that are sort of worried about, how do I get to a new place? It's like, I'm here, I've arrived. And so things start to change immediately, but the magic really happens when we start the program, get people thinking about being into their senses, into their body, out of their head. And then when they meet the horses just want to be in relationship with them right there, right now, no judgment, unconditional curiosity, unconditional love, and playfulness about how do I communicate with this human being who hasn't learned to speak my language. And so this nonverbal communication comes into play, and people's roles just dissipate. So this care partner who's come in, who said, I'm here to protect my mother or my spouse who I've come with, it's like the horse doesn't care what that relationship is. They want to be in relationship with you. the person who may have been judged earlier in the day because they couldn't complete a sentence the way that they wanted to, and they're like, oh, that's a person with dementia. The horse doesn't care. The horse just loves you for who you are right here, right now, and they want to be in relationship with you. So those roles don't matter. And when it doesn't matter to the horse, doesn't matter to the group, it starts not to matter so much for the individual person. And that's when our work begins. About how does the horse teach people to let go, be aware of how they impact the environment, and to practice nonverbal communication with yourself and with each other.
So that is, it's a lot to articulate. I totally get it, because it's much more visceral in terms of what your program is. Nancy, I know that from what I read, the horse, you must have to acclimate the horses too at some, before your clients, as it were, come, and is that right? And if so, like,
well, we have a criteria that was established by the veterinarians at UC Davis for what is a good horse to be in our program. They're typically older horses that are pretty mellow and really curious and want to be present. So we pick out those type of horses that really are very social, and that's important, that they want to engage with us.
Right.
And then, but we don't really, the horse decides if he wants to be in a relationship, as Paula says, with us or not. And so it's a lot of body language and the energy that we put off is what they're reading. So a horse is like a mirror to you, and that's what makes them such amazing teachers, because whatever we're putting out there, they're picking up on. And you have to be present and be in relationship with them in order to really start this nonverbal communication that happens.
Right. And so if for instance, when my mom was in her early stages, and that's when she lived with me, she would get agitated, frustrated if she was out of sorts or in a new place. It's like, get me the hell out of here, and you just, but wait, Mom, this is really cool. Like, how do the horses respond to that and obviously they must diffuse it in some way. That's the therapeutic value of it.
Right. Well, the nice thing is that most of our participants living with dementia that are in the program want to do it. They want to be there. They want to be with their loved one, be it a spouse or a daughter or whomever. And it's something they look forward to coming to do. So they're not really in that state. They're in an excited state, like, oh, it's something new. It's a new adventure. And so we haven't really seen that very often, because the horse just kind of makes them mellow to be around this 1,200-pound animal.
Right.
They know they need to be centered, and they don't want to be putting off fear. But a lot of what we hear from participants who haven't had a lot of experience with horses is that they're overcoming that obstacle in front of them, this large horse, which is like fear, right? Where you have to really just jump right in and be present with them. And so that's amazing. The horse reacts, and they read us just like a mirror, and they give it right back. So they notice with their own self, what they're putting off is shown to them right there in front of them in this beautiful animal.
And does that give us, like if I was in that presence of the horse and I was putting off that, does that give me that opportunity to go, oh, wait, breathe, calm down, be present? So that gives me that opportunity to shift and change, right?
It's that immediate feedback that you get of how you're impacting the environment. So it's these sort of ahas that, oh, if I'm impacting the horse this way, I could be impacting my mother this way. I could be impacting my spouse, the person at the grocery store. So you're responsible for that energy that you're putting off, that you're bringing into the situation. And when you get to see it from the horse's perspective, some of your judgment about people goes away. It's like, oh, they're just rude, or they're just that. And you create these stories. We talk about when people create stories about the horses, we're like, that's interesting. I mean, we don't know if that story about that horse is a brat, or that horse is really sweet, or that horse is bored. We don't know if that's true or not, because the horse hasn't told us, but that's interesting. Let's explore that a little bit more.
Right.
And that feedback starts to allow people to be more curious about those interactions. One of the hardest things for us as we're teaching people how to facilitate this program is we do want to get caught up in the outcomes because we're so outcome driven as professionals, as caregivers. We want to get something done. And if we can just let go of the outcome, that we're going to have fun here, we're going to learn here, and just say, I don't care what happens. We're just going to come and watch it unfold. That's when really amazing things happen. So some of the agitation and some of the worry that people come to the barn with because they want someone to do the right thing or learn the right thing, or they want the horse to lift up their foot at a certain time. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. And if we can just let go of those expectations, the horse really does teach us what we need to learn.
Isn't that exactly what it sounds like? This is why you developed this program, is to bring us back to a sense of the moment, being in the present, not having huge expectations of what has to be. It doesn't have to be this way. It can just let it unfold as it is, and that's an acceptable place to be. I think that's also us facing Alzheimer's together, and any kind of disease, like saying whatever it is and however it presents itself, your perfect example
Is that
can be.
Is that more for the caregiver, though, in terms of having expectations as opposed to the person that has the dementia?
I don't want to stereotype, but yeah, I mean, caregivers come in with this sense of, I want this to be a good experience for the person with dementia. And they sometimes even forget that they're equal participants. And so that gets right-sized very quickly, that this program is for each one of the individuals and the relationship together.
I think that's so important because as a caregiver myself, I had so much expectations early on before I learned to lean in, right? I remember my mom was a singer, and I took her to this chorus for, at the senior center, thinking she would have fun because, and of course, she didn't want to participate because it was like they didn't sing good. Like, I mean, she had this opinion. And I was like, come on, Mom, let's do it. Because I had an expectation of her enjoying herself. I wanted her so much to enjoy herself. And you just do have to let go. You have to lean in.
And that's a difficult place because that's not how we're built as a society or as we're educated. There's we have expectations, we have outcomes, we have goals, we have things that we're supposed to achieve, and those are our markers, rather than, hey, be present, let things unfold. This is how it is. And that's what you're talking about with Connected Horse. I want to ask a question to either one of you. Tell us the difference between like dog therapy and connected horses in having that kind of relationship, and what sets you apart.
It's so much different because of the size of the animal, right? So a dog you can control, a cat you can pull it in your lap, you can put them on a leash. Horse, you got to be in partnership with them from the beginning. And that's really important. So that's what our care partners learn, that you can't force something to happen. You have to go with the flow and wait for them to be ready. And so they see a lot of symbolism between how they're trying to force their mom or their husband to do something, and the horse, like, I'm not doing it, and they see that within themselves of what they're putting off. So we believe that the magic is the size of the horse, but most importantly, that a horse is a prey animal. And they're reading their environment all the time, 24/7. They are always looking at, so a difference between a predator, a dog, and a prey animal, or a cat is a predator, and a prey animal, they read their environment so much different. And so that is one of the key things about being in connection with the horse. They size you up. Are you nice? Are you going to be kind with me? Do you have a treat or whatever? And also, do I want to be with you? And that's based on the energy that we're putting off.
That makes so much sense. I never thought about that. I did not know that they were prey. It makes sense that they're prey animals and that they're going to be much more attuned to what they're surrounding and who is surrounding them.
And I think it's really important what you bring up is that we actually put off vibrations. We put off the energy we're putting off their vibrations. Yes, we're bio, but we're also electromagnetic, right?
Intention it's really strong.
Yeah. And so those vibrations, feelings, all the subtext of everything we say, I'm fine. Does that sound like I'm fine? I'm fine.
Well, it also, the size of the horse, I think, and Paula, jump in, helps them overcome their fear of the journey of what's ahead as a caregiver. what is ahead. They're so fearful, they're angry, they're disappointed, right? Susie, you know all these things. And it helps them read that to just, again, go with it and enjoy the moment and be with them. The person living with dementia doesn't put off that kind of energy. And we're always surprised that we see that, you know, the horse will pick up its hoof right away for that individual, as opposed to the care partner, which is a big learning experience. They love to clean their feet.
So, well, tell me about this. What is the picking up of the hoof? I don't understand. Describe what's going on there.
One of the exercises that we do is I call it giving and receiving of care. It's an opportunity for our participants to groom a horse. Mm-hmm. And so it's less about grooming the horse the right way or what brushes you use. It's more, those become tools to get close to the horse and to be able to, we do a lot of hand massage. So they start with grooming the horse and really being able to be up close and personal with this big animal. And if people feel comfortable, they can also clean out their hooves. And so there's where negotiation that Nancy was talking about happens, because you could lift up the paw of your dog and see if there's stickers in there, and you could do it whether your dog wanted you to or not. With a horse, you're not going to lift up that hoof and clean it out unless that horse is working in tandem with you. So sometimes people will try to push on the horse, squeeze on the horse. It's like, you got to work on this together. And it's amazing for those of us who have horses, picking up and cleaning their hooves can feel like a chore. And for our participants, it's a gift, because they have this animal who is working with them. And particularly for the people who have a diagnosis of dementia, they're able to give care. And you think about how much of that being able to give care back to somebody is diminished when you have a label of dementia. You become the person who is the receiver.
Right.
And you have a purpose, and you can participate in caring for something, because we all like to care for something.
It's so important to feel like you're needed.
Appreciated, yes.
You're needed. And it is very physical. I don't know if I'm thinking of a story of one of our participants, a gentleman who had dementia, and he was cleaning out this horse's hoof, and there was a rock stuck in between the shoe part of the horse and the horse's actual hoof. And he worked with this hoof pick about cleaning out that rock for, I don't know, I mean, it seemed like forever. It was probably about a minute. And he talked about that, of how much that must have bothered the horse, and he wondered if it hurt the horse, and how good it felt that he was able to get it out. It was this combination of emotional response and physical work to be able to really get that out. And those kinds of moments you can't plan. You can't say, we're gonna clean out a horse's hoof and maybe there'll be a rock in there.
That's so beautiful. That's a story.
Yeah, it has to unfold in the way of, that's in our mind, that is what that participant needed to feel and learn, that despite having a diagnosis of dementia, he still had purpose and needed to help people feel better, and needed to be purposeful, and needed to continue to do physical work. And what comes out of these programs is that these relationships are like, yeah, I'm still viable. I still have capabilities. And I need to get out there and work on the car. I need to get out there and do the garden. I don't need to be busy work. There may be things I have to modify because I can no longer remember 6 steps of a sequence. I may have to remember 1 at a time. So I modify these things, but I can still do these things that bring me joy and allow me to participate and have purpose in life.
Mm-hmm. And important with that and giving and receiving is the care partner realizes that might be their task for today, to get their loved one in the shower or get them somewhere, but they can't force that. Maybe they say, well, maybe I'll try later. Maybe I'll come back later. Maybe I'll try this approach or that approach. So they start thinking about it by looking at what's happening to them with the horse, and then what's happening to them at home.
Right.
And that's the therapeutic value then. It's like basically being present, learning how to be present, be in a relationship with the horse and finding how to have that be unfold and allow it to be. Then you can take all of those pieces and be able to do that in your day-to-day life. And also to see that maybe the energy that you're putting off is what the other person's picking up as well, with the anxiety or with, is that correct?
It's getting in touch with your nonverbal communication, because that's what eventually happens with someone with dementia. They lose their verbal skills, and what's left is that
visceral
connection.
We really work at trying to have people feel the experience in their body. So it isn't as important to remember the exercise or to remember the outcome. It's to be able to remember the feeling in your body so that you can come back to how do I get myself recentered? If I'm really in a frustrated moment, how do I get myself back into a place where that I can move forward so that I'm not always relying on the outside environment to change for me.
Is this okay if I take this opportunity to say, Nancy, who are you, and what made you decide to become an MSG, and can you tell us what that is?
Okay, well, an MSG is not a food additive in this case. It's a Master's of Science in Gerontology. So I'm a gerontologist professionally and love working with this population. I love working with people living with dementia. That's my affinity. And the more challenging they are, the more I love them. So it's really important that we, think about revering our elders as other cultures do. And so that's what a gerontologist does.
Gerontologist, is that the science of elderly people?
It's the science of longevity is what we like to call it. So we're social scientists.
Okay.
Instead of saying aging, we're going to be longevity, live a long, healthy, and purposeful life.
Right.
I love that. That's fantastic.
Quality.
Yes. And you were saying that you got into this because of what?
Well, Paula and I have worked together for many years. We've been working in our field of senior living for, well, Paula, I'll say it, 30 years. And and we've worked together on many projects, and we both have a love of horses, and we know what they do for us for our personal life and center us. And so we thought, well, if horses have helped all these other populations between developmentally disabled and prisoners and PTSD and teens at risk, then why can't they help people living with dementia and their care partners on this journey that's ahead of them? They're on this journey together. And typically in research, you separate the two and everyone has separate journeys. But we felt very strongly that this is a way that they could come together on this journey and really forge that bond going forward. And so it was affectionately called our Crazy Horse Project at first when we started at Stanford. And then for our research, we wanted the evidence behind it to support the program. And then we went to the University of California at Davis, which has a Alzheimer's Disease Center as well as Stanford, and has the best veterinary school in the country. So we wanted it to be meaningful for horses and meaningful for people.
So you take mature horses, right? That's what you were saying.
Yes.
So it's good for them too, because it gives
longevity horses, Susan.
Yeah.
Longevity horses.
I didn't say the O word. I did not say the O word.
The sport horses, usually their career ends around 15 or maybe 20. And I have a 32-year-old horse in my backyard and a 25-year-old horse. Paula has older horses, and they still want to work and be purposeful. So maybe they can't be ridden anymore, but they still are very curious and very bonded with humans. And so we felt that this would be good for older people, older adults, as well as older horses to have the same thing, purpose.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's symbiotic. It's a win-win.
I love it. It's fantastic, right? And Paula, tell us about you and your background, and what is an MSW?
Well, an MSW is a Master's in Social Work.
Okay.
So, but my connection to horses and older adults goes way back. We sort of look back at our childhood and say, how did we as you get older, you're like, how did we get here? And it's like, oh, I see that thread that leads back to your childhood. And I tease that my mother liked horses better than people. So we had like 14 horses when I was growing up. And,
Oh my God.
and when we turned 5, my mom would buy, there's 5 of us kids, we all got a pony.
Oh,
And we,
a
now
nice
looking
gift.
back, it was like, it had nothing to do with getting us a pony. It was a way for my mother to talk my father into getting another horse. But it also, you know, connected us again to nature, to be able to care for something and to be in relationship with something that's less materialistic.
Right.
And then
Learn empathy. It teaches empathy.
Yeah, empathy and responsibility, and the how you connect with this animal that needs you. You start to need them, and it doesn't have to be tit for tat, but it is, how do you negotiate a relationship? And I think as a young girl, it really helped me sort of figure out your own confidence, because your horse is unjudgmental, so you can go out there, no one's watching, and sort of work things out with your horse. But I also grew up with 2 elderly neighbors next to me that didn't drive, Uber and Lyft and all that didn't exist when I was a kid. And our family was responsible for helping them get groceries, to make sure they were okay, to invite them over for meals. And so there was this, because we didn't necessarily have that in our own extended family, but there was this value that our community, however you define community, that we have a responsibility to it. And so I think in some ways, when I think back on Connected Horse and Nancy and I wanting to really start this, and my work as a social worker, which is really about how does everything is connected. So you can't just look at one person and say, okay, let's help that one person, because it's that one person is connected to their family, is connected to their community, is connected to this greater sense. So for Nancy and I, was, how can we know the importance of people being of purpose and people staying connected into the larger community? And if horses can help other population and helped us on a personal level, they can certainly help us with this challenge that we've put in front of us. And so that's really the driver of it. But we promised ourselves, if it ever got to a point where it wasn't fun, that we would stop. And so we're 5+ years and it's still fun, and it still feels like we're doing something creative, we're doing something cutting edge. And whenever we get to the point of is this getting to be too much, too hard, something beautiful happens, and we're like, no, we're going to continue to push this forward, because there is challenges whenever you're starting something that you're leading, that there isn't something out there saying, yes, you're headed in the right direction. And so we're really committed to helping others recognize that until there's a cure for Alzheimer's, that it is really important to help people stay connected with each other. Because if you look at the data on, and you know this just from your own caregiving experience, that the stress, emotional stress, financial stress, the economic pieces of caregiving is huge. And so you look at that stressor, how can this program and other programs help to put services around that caregiving experience, so that there's quality, there's connection, and there's a release. And Nancy, I don't know, why don't you talk about some of the findings of the research, because that's what gets us excited. It's like, we are making a difference.
We wanted to make a difference for families on this journey, and we wanted to get out to as many people. And we've been overwhelmed by how many people just call up like, I want to do this, I want to be in your research project. So we had 100% participation of people coming back to do our research, which is unheard of, right? And we found that the benefit in the preliminary research from looking at the doing the 2 sites between Stanford University and UC Davis, it was similar that the care partner was the one who really benefited the most. And they had a reduction in anxiety and depression and improved sleep, which we thought sleep was kind of silly at first, but no,
super important
thing that we're looking at long-term for well-being and health, and just moving forward on this journey, they need to be rested. So having 3 out of 5 measures that showed a p-value of 0.001, which in research is the 5-star, the highest level, right, was really extraordinary. And we presented preliminary at the Alzheimer's Disease International Conference and the Alzheimer's Disease local in the United States in Los Angeles last year, a research conference. And researchers are blown away that we have such good measurements out of such kind of an offbeat type of research project. And so we know that half of the magic also is in the group process. So whenever they have an exercise in the curricula that we have put forth and we've created and we've learned by trial and error how this works as a facilitator, we find that the group process is so powerful. Like a support group is helpful to support families. You are probably in a support group for, or talking to other good girlfriends or friends about this. That is amazing. So I like to affectionately call it a support group on steroids, because in 4 weeks of the intervention of less than 15 hours, we have an amazing result in a very short period of time that activates people to start getting back on track in their lives, not take the diagnosis and take some Prozac. Like, really, let's get going, get back into life and enjoy this moment that we have together, similar to what we're doing right now.
I was just thinking, I was just going to say that we read, you read my mind, or I read your mind. I was going to say there's a lot of talk about depression and suicide, and, people, if they're not connected, you can get very, very,
feel isolated.
And that brings on a lot of,
negative emotions, because then all of a sudden, and then we're in that trajectory.
Well, horses need to be with others and in herds, and people need to be together. So it's a great combination.
We need tribes. We need our tribes. We do.
We do need our tribes. And so am I to understand that you haven't rolled this out really in the platform that your plan is? This is in trials, and these are in just certain locations at this time. Is that correct? And can either one of you speak on that, on what is actually happening, where you're available, if in fact our listeners, want to participate or get involved. And then I want to also get involved, because I might not have Alzheimer's and I'm not a caregiver at this time, but I want to do that anyway, because I need to be in the present moment, because it helps my health. It helps my mental health, helps my physical health. As you know, that's why you ladies started this beautiful program, and it's extremely exciting.
We love volunteers, Cassie.
I'm gonna pick me.
We know where to find you. We do have right now 3 community-based sites. One in Orinda, California, one in Pleasanton, California, and one in Minden, Nevada.
Wow.
Where we work closely with the Alzheimer's Association early stage support groups and others in the community that want to come to our program. So we're itching to get back out to the barn as soon as the shelter in place is over. We also want to train other facilitators how to do this work, because the way to really grow this program and hopefully grow it throughout the United States is to train other people how to do this.
Right.
And so we are always raising money to help fund the current programs that we have, raise money to bring people out here to work with us. Because as hard as it is for us to explain it to you, you can't just read a manual and say, okay, now I know how to do this program.
No.
It really is experiential for the training pieces of it too. So we use the current 3 barns that we have right now as training sites for facilitators to come out and do this work. And so we're open for volunteers to help us with our community-based sites, or people who are interested in learning how to do this work as a facilitator, and for people who like to go out and raise money to help us fund all this stuff.
I feel like people that, have an affinity towards horses probably can help you find money too, that can help you facilitate that, because, I mean, it's a great way to keep all of your, if you own horses and you have stables and whatnot, you want to be able to have, activity for your horses, and why not make it a win-win for everybody? Seems like a natural, just seems.
And it totally does. And the longevity horses have a purpose as well, and then continue in the barns or the equestrian centers, throughout the country, really. And I know, hopefully this goes worldwide, because it's not just in the US that people are affected with Alzheimer's, or that have any disease, or that need to stay present and be in relation with and understand what that is, to take that home in a bigger way, for all of us to be in relationship with each other and treat each other with much more respect and reverence and humanity.
Slow down, just slow down.
Okay.
Everyone needs to slow down.
I'll
Not
slow
you.
down.
I mean, not you, Cassie.
One of the things,
like in general, if we don't slow down, we can't hear other people. We won't connect. And that's what's really important. That's where like you said, the magic happens. That in friendships, in relationship, anything, in family. If you don't listen and slow down, you miss.
Well said, Susie. Well said on that. And you were going to say something, Nancy.
Well, I'm saying right now we don't charge. We've been raising money because we want to make this accessible to everyone. Anyone that would like to come out to the barn, and we've partnered with some stables as well as therapeutic riding centers that want their horses to be used for other offerings. So that's really important. And so we don't want to charge, but as to the insurance, that is our dream. Right. That the evidence behind what we're doing will actually help get it funded by insurance at some point, as it has for other populations. So we really want to focus on that after we get, up and running. We know that's a ways off, but it's a long-term goal.
But you know what, ladies, I mean, I have such a bigger affinity now towards what you're doing. When I realized what you made it so clear that the caregivers who are often overlooked, it's just like, here's what you got to do. You're the only, like for me, and I know it happens in a lot of families, that one person ends up being the designated caregiver, and you kind of have to just surrender to it, and to have an opportunity to have your own therapy while caregiving at the same time it's incredible. It's such a wonderful thing. And I mean, we've had so many guests on that talk about the wear and tear on caregivers is worse than the person that they're caring for. There's a lot of premature deaths that happen, and illnesses and all kinds of stuff and we overlook that, how stressful it is on the caregivers. I have not heard of any other program other than going to your own, like a support group, like you're saying.
Right. Baby boomers want to be active. They really want to go out and do things. They don't really want to sit in a support group. So we see in our work what Paula and I do. So we want to have a very activating type of approach to make the most out of the time they have. And no one wants to be a caregiver, but it's such a beautiful experience, as you know, Susie, to help you grow as a human. So why not give the people the tools they need up front in the beginning of this journey to help them through, because it will be a long road.
And that's exactly why we're doing this, is because we want to be a resource for the caregiver to have a lot of resources.
And there is joy in it, and there's different kind of joy, right? I mean, you find these, if you do slow down and if you do surrender to it, you will find a lot
the rocks in the hoof.
The rocks in the hoofs.
Right?
Yes. A horse can be strong and gentle. A horse can be sweet and ornery at the same time. And so you get these sort of aha moments that my caregiving experience can be painful and hard and beautiful and joyous at the same time.
Right. It's like life.
Yes.
Like anything in life.
And it doesn't have to be but or, it can be and. These things can coexist together. And don't be afraid to find joy in what people might label as a horrible, awful experience. And don't be afraid to experience sadness, you know, and sometimes that happens even in our programs that we're talking today about all these sort of wonderful experiences that happen, but sometimes true sadness comes out. And that release of sadness that has to happen is freeing, and it's and it can be hard to watch because our caregiving, you know, we're all sort of caregivers by heart, is we want to come rescue someone to feel better, but sometimes people just need to feel sad. And if a horse gives them the opportunity to be able to do that without judgment, without trying to fix it, without trying to stop a tear, that is a real blessing. And
It's a
so
release. It's therapeutic. It's cathartic, and we don't often have a place to do that, like you said, where it's safe.
And they learn how to communicate non-verbally from the horse, which they realize is the universal language of love, right? So they communicate non-verbally with this ginormous animal, and they realize that that's what they can do with their loved ones. And that's what their loved ones may be doing with them. So it's just a beautiful working out as you see this progress and how much people get back on track. And that's why we want to do it with earlier stage when people are newly diagnosed, to really help them on this journey ahead and push that facilitation part where they can learn these skills up front. Don't learn it, 6 months later, a year later, or when you're at the end of your rope, because they're not going to be as open to it.
And no, it's so important. I love so much what you're doing. I love it so much. It's so important. I know personally, because I kick myself every time I think about the way that I responded to my mom early on, because I didn't know better.
Right.
And, and I thought I was protecting her.
Of course.
And
and you were going to change her mind. You were going to talk her out of Alzheimer's.
Oh yeah, that for sure. I knew that. That was happening. Don't even worry about it.
Done. Check mark.
Gerontology, I'd go, don't worry about it. I got her.
The whole thing about living, when families live on the island of denial, as I like to say, they come off the island once in a while, and reason is they see that their loved one can still do all these things, and they start treating them differently, because out of love, we want to just overcome. Like, we're just pick up that dog, like you're saying, Cassie.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to hug me. I'm going to hug you right now. But no, it's not like that. They really learn that they have to go with the flow, and they have to really read their loved one, who may not be as verbal as they used to be, or can communicate as well as they used to, and read some of that nonverbal communication that they're putting off at all times. And so what families tell us is that they learn that, and they become a better care partner. Or one gentleman who's been in our program, he said he has dementia, and he said, it took a horse to teach me to be a better husband.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
That's lovely. But also horses can teach us just to be better people, and also to be present, and that our emotions are okay. So the horse doesn't judge us and doesn't try to make us feel better if we're crying.
Right.
They might come over to us, or they might acknowledge, or they might, however they're going, that's what you're showing, right? It's like, whatever that is, they're going to they're going to give you that exchange and be in relationship with you, and maybe just let you cry and watch you.
Right. And you have to learn, I think it's also important, I've been volunteering as a speaker for Alzheimer's Los Angeles. And one of the things that was such an aha moment for me was when the person that was teaching us to be speakers said, as someone progresses with Alzheimer's, it's not that they can't answer you, but often we don't give them time, because it takes them longer to compute. And he said, generally 20 seconds, if you say, how are you? And you waiting, and you figure they're not hearing you, or they're not, responding, but you have to give them time. And he said, let's count out, I'm going to time 20 seconds, and I want you to see how long that feels. And it was such a powerful moment for me, because I use it every time I see my mom now, every time, because I know it takes her time for it to go through. And if I don't give her those moments of silence, it's gone.
Right.
Her thought, whatever, if she had a thought, it would be gone.
Well,
So,
that's exactly what this whole program sounds like. It is like
yeah.
being in the moment and letting it unfold as it is, and letting have reverence for each other and respect of wherever each other is in their stage of life, right?
Yeah.
I want to ask one other question, if I may. How can we help you? How can our audience help you? How can we help you bring this program forth?
Well, having this program helps a lot to get the word out about us.
Well, that's a done deal. We
Yeah,
will.
that's happening. We're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing that. We're looking for
happy to do that.
funders. We're looking for funders, of course, to help fund this, or kind of figure out some kind of grants or something.
Cassie's great for asking for money. I'm the worst at it.
I don't know that
Come
I
on,
am.
bring it on.
I can ask for it. I don't know about that, but obviously looking for that, right? And we're going to put up information on this. On
And the
this
show
podcast.
notes will have all the ways to get in touch with these wonderful people and their program. And if you want to support or come and visit and be a part of it, whatever,
part of the trials, be part of
they're open for it, volunteering, whatever.
Finding more facilitators that like this work, that's important.
That's important because that'll put it like in another state or in another city, right? So
or in Los Angeles. Yeah.
I was going to say, could you? Yeah, I would love it one here. I know it would go. It would be so great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we need it. Us Los Angelinos, we need stuff. And we need love. And really, I think that's what that you guys have brought to our listeners is just absolute joy and love and your passion. And I want to just also encourage you, you're going to have hard times. You're going to have things that are going to not go your way. Please don't give up, because I think that this is a really extremely needed program. We are so very excited that you have been able to share with us your new adventure, this adventure on the cutting edge, something that is a new therapeutic opportunity until we find an actual treatment or cure for Alzheimer's. This is a great opportunity for us to get back into what is real in the moment.
Yeah. And thank you so much for loving our elder generation, because it's
so important. They're so important to us.
So missing in our culture. It's just.
I'm one of them now.
Yeah, I know. Blink and you're 90. No, but I mean, it's extraordinary to me, like how many people are shielded from that, and I've brought friends who have come to visit my mom with their little kids, and the kids are scared to death of older people, and that shouldn't be like that.
It should not be like that, and I hope Susie, you and I are going to do everything we can to make that go away, because we need to be talking. I love
older people so much.
We need to have all our generations.
Because their filters are gone, and you know who they are, and and it's good. It's good. They're like right there. They're right there. I love it. It's no bullshit.
Hey, Paula, last time that we did this conversation with you, you shared a story with us about this incredible story about this caregiver and the horse, and they came into the barn. Do you remember what we were talking about, and can you share that with us again?
Yeah. I think it started around that we, put together programs, but things really unfolded the way that they're supposed to happen. And the beauty of the horse being the teacher is that they show up in ways that surprise us. Mm-hmm. And so the story that I shared was that we were, as a group, inside a paddock, a stall next to another horse, and we were just there talking about what does it feel like to be in this stall. And some people were saying, kind of feel like a horse. Some people were saying, it's soft, or looking at the railings. And one of our participants said, it feels like a prison. And we sort of asked her to explain. She goes, this is how my husband must feel having Alzheimer's. And so we went over and we asked her husband, how he was feeling. And he said, I feel great. Yeah. And her realization that she verbalized to us was that she was the one feeling like a prisoner, that she had wrapped all of this stuff around her and how her life stopped and changed and got very small, that she was feeling like a prisoner because of this disease. And that realization that she put herself in that prison cell was just a release for her, and the tears started to come. And it just so happened, again, not planned by us, that she was next to the stall that the other horse Sailor was in. And Sailor walked over, and this big head just came over the paddock and just lopped his head on her shoulder. And they both just stood there, and the tears came. The horse stayed there. She and the horse, I mean, I don't know how long they were there because we all left. I mean, it was such an intimate, special moment in this realization for her that she needed to just grieve something, not for her husband, but for herself. And the horse was just there holding that space for her, just literally holding it. Nothing needed to happen other than that physical presence of that horse being there. And we left, and at some point later, she came out and just was, she was grateful.
Oh, thank you for sharing. That's such a beautiful story. I don't think anybody cannot be there and visualize what that moment felt like. So it's incredible.
The only other sort of connection piece that keeps coming into my mind, so I'm going to say it, is one of the reasons that UC Davis opened their arms for us to come in and do this research project is because they have a philosophy called the One Health Initiative, which is if it's good for horses, it's good for people, and it's good for the environment, it's the right thing to do. Oh. And I've been thinking a lot about this as we're in our shelter in place, of how important it is for us to be in connection and see how we impact each other, our animals, and the environment, and how Connected Horse really is the thread to all of those things. And I believe that's why it's so powerful for our participants, because they're feeling what it feels like to be in nature, to be in the barn, how the senses are different for them, how they interact with each other, and how they interact with the horses. It really is this One Health initiative played out in this one program.
It really is.
Wow.
It really is.
Wow.
There's a viral video that's, I don't know if you've seen it, but since the virus, and it's animals all over the world reclaiming
their territory.
It's beautiful. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I haven't seen that video.
Look it up. I'll put it in the show notes too. It is so worth to watch. It's I mean, India, you've got there's elephants just walking down the market street. Like, what? And then there's I forgot which country it was, but there's these penguins just walking down like Rodeo Drive, and just come on, like it's like they're back.
Yeah, I saw with the bears in Yosemite. They're like, hey, this is awesome. All these
they had a bear in Santa Monica here. There was a bear.
Oh, really?
Part of it, yeah. There's a big brown bear, and just happy. And then there was it bears or was it I can't remember. It was a larger beast that were swimming in somebody's pool. They're like, that looks fun. They just went swimming.
That's right.
Okay.
But that's the concept. It's like, it's kind of
we're reevaluating
and reset it. It's a reboot.
That's why we called it Connected Horse. So you're connected together as well as with this horse, this amazing creature that can teach us so much since the beginning of time. If you think about how horses built our civilization and helped us get to where we are today as humans. And now some kids may never even see a horse, or our participants talk about in their childhood having a horse, and it brings back all these amazing emotional memories for them that are positive.
And well, they're majestic creatures, and they just really, they've really just aided mankind to shift and change and travel.
So and they've been our partners. They've been partners with us forever. I didn't think about that. You guys are bringing so much epiphanies to me today. I love it. This is great.
Well, we can talk to you guys all day. We'll do another show.
We'll come back. We'll do a follow-up for sure. Nancy, thank you so much. And we're just going to support you guys for, as much as we can. And Paula, thank you for sharing all these lovely stories and for everything that you guys are doing. are grateful and
in awe. And of course, we always thank all of our listeners. And we want to say love is powerful, love is contagious, and love conquers all.
thank you.
So thank you.
Subscribe.
Sing a song.